Hello and welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Here's a look at what's lined up for you on the show tonight. Our cover story tonight is about Taiwan. Is it facing an internal rift? I ask this question because of the latest developments. You know who is visiting China? The former president of Taiwan, Ma Ying-jeou. And it's no ordinary visit, by the way. We tell you why the decision by Honduras to snap ties with Taiwan in favor of China has far-reaching implications as well. Will the move lead to Taiwan's isolation on the world stage? What do these developments really mean for Taiwan? We also tell you why the timing of these latest decisions is equally significant. Also on the show for you tonight, is Zakir Naik slipping away from India's grip once again? The radical preacher will now be returning to Malaysia. We get you the full story. After months of protests, the power of the people prevails in Israel. With Netanyahu's decision to hit the pause button on the judicial overhaul plan, what lies ahead for the people and for Netanyahu? Should India worry about the rising Wuhan virus cases? The spike comes at a time of rising flu cases as well. What's causing this rise? Is the future of Twitter and TikTok in peril? We get you a Gravitas special report. Our cover story tonight is from Taiwan. Is it facing an internal rift? Has China isolated Taiwan? Has China split Taiwan's leaders through manipulation? Is Taiwan left with no allies except America and Japan? I ask these questions because as I speak, China is hosting a special guest, the former president of Taiwan, Ma Ying-jeou. Have a look at these images. They are from Shanghai's Pudong airport. They show the arrival of Ma Ying-jeou. He landed there on Monday afternoon and was received by the senior CCP officials like Chen Yuanfeng, the deputy head of China's Taiwan Affairs Office. Now, this visit is both intriguing, also controversial. Since the Communist Revolution of 1949, no sitting or former Taiwanese leader has ever visited mainland China. Ma Ying-jeou has changed that. And the question is, what exactly is he doing there? What really are his intentions? Well, there are two answers to this question, and they depend on who you ask. The former Taiwanese leader says he has gone to China to improve relations and bring about peace with the mainland. But Taiwan's government says he has gone there to sow divisions within Taiwan and push Beijing's agenda once he is back in Taipei. And is there any merit to these claims? We don't know. But a statement by the leader does add to our doubts. Listen to this.
People on both sides of the Taiwan Strait are Chinese people and are both descendants of the Yan and Yellow emperors. Today, many of the nation-building proposals held dear by the founding father of the country have been realized in Taiwan and the mainland.
You heard that. People on both sides are Chinese. How do we view this statement? Is he hinting towards a possible reconciliation? Is he trying to say that China and Taiwan should be united? These are some obvious questions that come to mind. But the biggest question of them all is this: has international isolation split the people of Taiwan? This is not a far-fetched question. Just have a look at some recent developments. Last week, Honduras snapped ties with Taiwan in favor of China. And as if to rub salt on the wound, it said that there is only one China in the world, and the CCP is the only legitimate government that represents it. This decision is a major setback for Taiwan and a personal blow to its leader, Tsai Ing-wen. She first came to power in 2016, and since then, a total of 8 countries have severe ties with Taiwan. It started with Sao Tome in December 2016. June 2017, Panama snapped ties with Taiwan. It was followed by the Dominican Republic in May 2018. Burkina Faso in the same month, El Salvador in August 2018, Solomon Islands in September 2019, Kiribati in September 2019, and Nicaragua in December 2021. That's 8 diplomatic setbacks in 6 years, all under Tsai Ing-wen's watch. The decision by Honduras adds to Taiwan's misfortune. Only 13 countries, after all, recognize Taiwan as of the 28th of March. Marshall Islands, Nauru Palau, Tuvalu, Eswatini, Belize, Guatemala, Haiti, Paraguay, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, and Vatican City. That's a total of 13. And what's worse, all of them are either small island states or countries that lack diplomatic clout. And this only tells you how lonesome Taiwan is on the world stage. And the question is this international isolation making Taiwanese leaders rethink their ties with the mainland? Forget the leaders. Has this increasing isolation changed the minds of the people of Taiwan? I don't ask this question without reason. Have a look at this report. In August last year, a poll was conducted. It asked people whether they support unification with China. Around 12% of the respondents said that they did. I know it's a small number, but it's still a big spike from the previous surveys. Previous surveys with the same question showed the figure to be about 5 to 10%. And what does this tell you? That slowly but certainly, more and more Taiwanese people are saying yes to one China. The activism of pro-China leaders like Ma Ying-jeou is further fueling this reset. He is a member of Taiwan's Kuomintang party. It was the sole party in China during the Republican era, an era that lasted from 1982 to 1914. That era, during this period, most of the Chinese mainland was under Kuomintang's control. But some areas still remained under semi-autonomous rule. And this gave way to armed rebellions across China. And in 1921, these rebel groups came together. They formed what the world knows today as the Communist Party of China. This party became involved in a power struggle with Kuomintang. A civil war followed. The communists fought a bloody battle against the ruling nationalists for years. And in the year 1949, they succeeded in overthrowing them. So what happened next? Well, the leader of the Republic of China, Chiang Kai-shek, and the remnants of his party, Kuomintang, moved to Taiwan and declared Taipei their new capital. It's been more than 7 decades. And just have a look at how things have changed. The same party the communists pushed out of China now sits in Taiwan's opposition. And the leaders of this party openly toe Beijing's line and push for Taiwan's reunification with the mainland. If there were any doubts about this, Ma Ying-jeou's visit settled all of them. The question is, what next? Well, Taiwan will hold a presidential election next year. And if we go by the recent developments, China will be playing a huge role in these polls. By all means, it will try to install Kuomintang to power and achieve its dream of reunification. Is Zakir Naik slipping away from India's grip again? You remember the radical preacher? He is in the news again. What for? Well, doing what he does best. Inciting religious tension, spewing hate, lying, peddling propaganda. Recently, he was recorded daring India to arrest the country's many godmen. He was recorded on camera publicly converting an Indian Hindu woman, asking her to repeat after him that God is one, that no one other than Allah should be worshipped. He went on to announce that whenever a person converts, the sins are forgiven and it's a fresh start. Naik told this woman that she should convert her friends and family as well. Now, all of this was happening in Oman. And when some of the video clips surfaced on the internet, India's Ministry of External Affairs said that it is talking to the government of Oman to extradite Zakir Naik so that he could be sent to India to face justice. But now reports say that Zakir Naik's work in Oman is done and he is returning to Malaysia. In other words, Oman is not extraditing Zakir Naik. Let me just tell you a little bit about this man. His full name is Zakir Abdul Karim Naik. He is 57 years old. Naik was born in Mumbai, India. He went on to found an organization named Islamic Research Foundation. Naik hit the headlines with his hate speeches. You remember the Dhaka cafe attack? The one that killed 22 people? One of the accused said that he was inspired by Naik's speeches. Many who were tracking Zakir's activities were not surprised. Here is a man who has time and again been red flagged for instigating Muslim youths. Zakir Naik's charged speeches are broadcast in a channel called Peace TV. This channel, owing to obnoxious content, is banned in a number of countries, including India, Bangladesh, the UK, Canada. And soon after the Dhaka attack, India's counter-terrorism agency had filed a complaint against Zakir Naik. He was accused of unlawful activities and of stirring religious hate. Today, Zakir Naik is wanted in India for money laundering, terrorism, inciting religious tensions. Zakir Naik fled India in 2016. He has been living there ever since. In 2017, India revoked Naik's passport. In 2018, India requested Malaysia to extradite Naik. It has been 5 years. Somewhere in between, Malaysia banned Zakir Naik from delivering public speeches. Why is that? Because he was trying to quote-unquote stir up religious feelings. You see, after leaving India, Naik started delivering hate speeches in public in Malaysia. He made racial remarks against Malaysia's ethnic Hindus, also against the country's Chinese population. In short, this man is a nuisance. He is a threat to any country's religious harmony. Zakir Naik is always just a speech away from inciting communal riots and acts of terror. And yet, he is a celebrity in a certain part of the world, the Gulf. In fact, reports say Zakir Naik was given a state reception in Oman. In fact, he was there on the request of the Omani government. And you should not be surprised. What if I told you? Zakir Naik was invited to deliver religious lectures in Qatar during the FIFA World Cup. And back then as well, India raised an extradition request asking Qatar to send back the fugitive. We know how that went. In 2015, Naik was accorded the King Faisal International Prize by Saudi Arabia. What for, you ask? Quote unquote, for service to Islam. In 2013, Dubai decorated Zakir Naik with the International Holy Quran Award, Islamic Personality of the Year. And as I speak, Naik may be going back to Malaysia, a country where he holds a permanent residency, a country that seems to have promised to protect this absconder, shield him from justice. The question is, why? Moving on for now, has the will of the people prevailed in Israel? Following months of protests over Netanyahu's judicial overhaul plan, the leader has hit the pause button on that plan. He has delayed the reforms until next month's parliamentary session. Listen in first to what he said.
When there's a possibility to prevent civil war through dialogue, as Prime Minister, I am taking time out for dialogue. I give a real opportunity for a proper dialogue.
And this comes in the backdrop of a growing rift between the military and Netanyahu's government. The opposition has welcomed the move. Here's how the opposition leader Yair Lapid has reacted.
Prime Minister Netanyahu's statement: if the legislation really does stop, genuinely and totally, we are ready to start genuine dialogue at the President's residence.
Has Netanyahu destroyed his government with this move? Well, Netanyahu's coalition partners are calling it a mistake. And for the time being, it is a reminder of the power of the people. But it is a temporary win. What will happen in next month's debate? What lies ahead for Netanyahu and for the people of Israel? The protests have subsided to some extent. On Monday, the Histadrut labor union grounded flights at the Ben Gurion airport. The union represents more than 700,000 workers in different sectors. The strikes had paralyzed large parts of Israel's economy. Seaports, banks, even hospitals were impacted. The union called off the mass strikes after the announcement of the delay. But the rallies continue. Let's listen in to some reactions.
I will continue protesting until these reforms are completely dropped, because this isn't a set of reforms. This is a coup by the executive. It's executive aggrandizement. They're taking their power that they got democratically and they're ruining our democratic systems forever. And I will not let this pass ever. I will do everything in my power to protest it.
We'll see what happens next. Me personally, I don't think he can be trusted. We'll have to see, to let time pass and see what happens.
Huge crowds of protesters gathered in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. Some chanted shame against the government. The Israeli police used stun grenades and water cannon to disperse them. You see, this is the power of the people of Israel. Have a look at these visuals from Jerusalem. Protesters flooded the streets. Similar scenes were witnessed in almost every major part of the country. The demonstrators blocked a major highway in Tel Aviv. Israelis burnt Netanyahu's banners. They gathered around his private home in Jerusalem and chanted democracy. Universities across the country closed until further notice. Israeli Navy commandos took the protest to the depths of the Red Sea. Meanwhile, they waved Israeli flags underwater. And that's not even all. Diplomats, lawmakers, Israeli ambassadors voiced dissent against the judicial reforms. Ultimately, Benjamin Netanyahu had to give in. He succumbed to the pressure, although temporarily. His decision to delay the reforms was a desperate attempt to control the situation. But like I said, the move has not been received well by his coalition. So what happens next? If Netanyahu scraps the reforms, his coalition would crumble. If he goes ahead with the judicial overhaul plan, the protests intensify. How far will Netanyahu go to save himself? Will he save himself or destroy his government, has been the question that we've been asking. If Israel is left without a functioning government, it would go to its 6th election in 4 years. The instability and chaos in Israel would continue. The next few days are going to be crucial for the country, and we will be keeping a close eye on the developments. Our next story comes from India. It is witnessing an uptick in COVID-19 cases. After months of lying dormant, the Wuhan virus seems to be on the prowl once again. The numbers tell you the story. In the last 24 hours, India has logged 1,573 fresh COVID-19 cases. This has taken the active cases tally to 10,981. During the same period, 4 new deaths have been recorded, all in Kerala. If I speak of the weekly test positivity rate, it has increased to 32% from 10% last week. This is a 3.5-fold rise in 2 weeks. Is this unusual? It is. Look at this graph. It depicts the daily case count since the beginning of this year. Throughout January and February, the cases remained static. Not once did they cross 500. But ever since March started, the infections have steadily risen. On the 12th of March, India recorded 524 cases. On the 19th of March, it recorded 1,071 cases. On the 23rd of March, there were 1,300 fresh cases. And in the last 24 hours, there were 1,573 fresh COVID-19 cases. Next question, where is the infection spreading? This map gives you a better idea. The biggest spike is in Delhi, Kerala, Maharashtra, and Gujarat. Now, here's the thing. I know these numbers don't sound like much, given the massive COVID-19 waves that we have witnessed in the past. But that does not mean we give in to complacency. If the last 2 years have taught us anything, it's this. Viruses are unpredictable. They keep evolving and mutating, especially the killer from Wuhan. Remember, since December 2020, it has transformed into multiple variants: Alpha, Beta, Gamma, Delta, each variant deadlier than the previous one. So every small spike in infections matters. Also, no one wants to see the terror of a lockdown making a comeback. The question is, how serious are these cases really? Well, most of them are not severe. According to the doctors, the new patients are not showing any major symptoms. Listen into this.
Their existing cases of COVID-19 are not that symptomatic, and among the rising cases, some are incidental too. For instance, a patient was admitted to our hospital, but she was not symptomatic for coronavirus. She fainted owing to some other health factors, and when she was getting prepared to be put on ventilation, she tested positive for coronavirus.
So most of the cases are asymptomatic, but the fact is they are still growing. So what is being done about this? Well, the government is clearly on the go. Last week, the Prime Minister of India convened a high-level meeting of the COVID-19 task force. This was the first time this year that such a meeting was convened. The aim was to review the COVID-19 situation and preparedness. And what was the outcome of the meeting? Reports say the government decided to enhance genome sequencing of the positive samples. And that's not all. The government is also planning a nationwide mock drill to take stock of the COVID-19 preparedness at the hospitals. These drills will be held on the 10th and the 11th of April. The aim will be to check the availability of medicines, hospital beds, medical equipment. Simply put, India is not taking any chances. It is prepared for any major spike, which right now seems highly unlikely. Health experts are saying this. They say the change in weather in the recent days, to shift from heat wave-like conditions to incessant rainfall in the last 2 weeks, which saw the mercury dip heavily, could explain the growing cases. And this change has contributed to an ideal environment for viruses to thrive and infect more people than they usually do. We have been telling you how the H3N2 virus has been spreading in the country. The virus is a type of influenza virus that can cause respiratory illness in humans, because the virus and the Wuhan virus share symptoms like fever, cough, body ache. It can be difficult to differentiate between COVID-19 and flu caused by the H3N2 virus without a COVID-19 test. As of last week, there have been around 1,317 H3N2 cases. 19 of these cases required ICU admission. Doctors say most of them were linked to the changing weather. And is it the same story with the Wuhan virus? So far, it seems to be. But like they say, prevention is better than cure. So the right thing to do right now is to draw the right lessons from the past and exercise caution every time we step out. Remember also to do your bit to protect others if you are unwell. Do not go to work if you are experiencing symptoms. Cover your mouth when coughing or sneezing. Stay safe and keep others safe. And Twitter is in the news once again. Elon Musk has announced a new shakeup. Remember how the platform started offering paid verification ticks to the users? Now it is making its features exclusive to those users. Let's just have a look at the changes that have been announced by Elon Musk. From the 15th of April, only verified subscribers will be allowed to vote in polls. Only their posts will be recommended to other users. Posts from non-paying accounts will not be included in the For You stream. What does that mean? Musk preaches free speech. He has time and again promoted absolute free expression on Twitter, freedom of expression. Then why do users need to pay to participate in the polls, to give out their opinion? Well, Musk says the move would keep AI bots under check. But what about the real users? What happens when they abuse their blue ticks to spread misinformation on the platform? Musk had already minimized misinformation checks. Anyone can pay $7 and get a blue tick. And after the recent change, unverified Twitter users will receive far less engagement on their tweets. Chances are more people will opt for the paid verification. Is this just Musk's way to make quick bucks? A petty marketing trick, perhaps? Twitter Blue had a chaotic initial launch in November, remember? People started impersonating big brands and celebrities. Many pretended to be Elon Musk himself. Twitter Blue has since been used by controversial groups, and the list includes Taliban officials and their prominent supporters in Afghanistan. And now Musk is pushing for ways to promote the blue ticks, to make more users pay for it. This seems like a dangerous moment for Twitter. Has its downfall started? Some would argue it began when Musk took over, and things have only gone downhill. Musk now controls 5 companies across the transportation, aerospace, health, telecom and social media sectors. All of them intersect with the government to varying degrees. Simply put, the billionaire enjoys unmatched global clout and unchecked power on the platform. It might sound far-fetched, but Musk is exercising dictatorship on the social media platform. He has blocked alternative ways to view Twitter, which means users cannot use social media managers to use Twitter anymore. He has changed the platform's curation. Users see much more recommended tweets instead of the content that they have chosen to follow. Twitter has been pushing tweets it wants people to see, irrespective of their choice. And this will only get worse once the new changes are implemented. Musk also reinstated controversial accounts on Twitter. This includes influencer Andrew Tate, rapper Ye, former US President Donald Trump. He has also fired employees. Employees have been asked to work long hours, return to the offices. And Musk is not the only social media dictator. While he controls a platform based on his impulses, another one is controlling it for espionage. I'm talking about Xi Jinping. The Chinese-owned TikTok has stirred controversies the world over. The platform is owned by ByteDance. It is said to be the world's most valuable startup. But its proximity to the Chinese government has sent alarm bells ringing. TikTok has hold over user data around the world, and the CCP has hold over TikTok. Countries are waking up to this fact. India was quick to ban TikTok in 2020. Several others have also followed suit. New Zealand, the UK, France, the Netherlands, Scotland, Belgium, Canada have imposed partial bans on TikTok. The app is not allowed on federal devices due to security concerns. The US is also moving forward with the plan. It all boils down to the CCP. TikTok is suspected to put sensitive user data into the hands of the Chinese government. The platform's downfall has started over these fears. Are Twitter and TikTok both finished? Both the platforms have suffered blows at the hands of dictators, and on the receiving end are the users. Our next story is from the United States. 2 people have been injured in a shooting that took place outside a Gurudwara in California's Sacramento. How did this incident unfold? What are the authorities saying? Our next report getting you the complete story.
Sacramento's Bradshaw Sikh community hosted its first Sikh parade. The event was supposed to be a celebration of faith. But it took a violent turn when 2 men got into a scuffle and ended up shooting at each other. Fortunately, no one else was injured. The Sikh community attending the parade has condemned the act of violence, saying that such actions go against the Sikh faith. Was this a hate crime? The Sacramento police has said that it was nothing but a shootout between 2 men who knew each other. Meanwhile, President Biden decided to address the country regarding the gruesome school shooting in Nashville, Tennessee, that has left 6 dead. But his speech couldn't have been worse. Biden showed complete lack of sympathy for the loss of lives. Before starting his speech, Biden spoke about how he likes chocolate chip ice cream and that his refrigerator is full of ice cream. Can you believe that? The leader also asked the press if they thought he was kidding. In the latter half of his speech, the president urged the Congress to pass his assault weapons ban, saying that the U.S. needs to make some progress. Well, that's just putting it mildly.
You know, the shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban. It's about time that we begin to make some more progress, but there's more to learn. But I just wanted to send my concern and hearts out to so many parents out there.
Because the United States has already registered 130 mass shootings this year. 130! Yesterday, 3 children and 3 adults were shot in a school in Nashville. The shooter was a former student of the school and was shot down by the police. On February 19th, 11 people were shot in Memphis. The shootings took place at 2 different sites. Mississippi also witnessed a 52-year-old man go on a shooting rampage and kill 6 people. The man killed his ex-wife and his 2 siblings. The same horror story is repeating itself in the United States. The epidemic of mass shootings continues, and the president chooses to talk about ice cream. What more will it take for the United States to put an end to gun violence? How many more innocent lives need to be lost before the country stops being this helpless before the gun lobby?
Let me ask you a few questions now. Do you know how many stars are there in our galaxy? Around 100 billion. Let's just zoom out further. Do you know how many galaxies are there in the universe? A staggering 200 billion. Now, each of these galaxies potentially containing hundreds of billions of stars. And as you know, most stars host planets. Now, how many planets float around in the universe? The exact figure is not known, but what we do know is that there are more than grains of sand present on the planet. And not by a little, but by a lot. These planets that exist outside our solar system are known as exoplanets. Do you know how many of them we have spotted? Only 5,332, orbiting in some 3,931 planetary systems. And this is not even the tip of the iceberg. What are these exoplanets? What are they made of? And why have we been hunting for them? Let me answer these questions. Roughly speaking, there are 4 types of exoplanets. The first type being gas giants. They don't have hard surfaces. Instead, they have swirling gases above a solid core, just like Jupiter and Saturn. And then there are Neptunians. They are similar in size to Neptune or Uranus, their core consisting of rock and heavier metals. And then we have super Earths, the exoplanets bigger than our planet. And lastly, the terrestrials, which are exoplanets with rocky surfaces. Over the past decade or so, we have started understanding more about these planets. Surprisingly, many of them are in habitable zones. What does that mean? To understand that, first answer this. Why does life exist on Earth? The most important factor is its distance from the sun. It's neither too close nor too far. Our planet is neither too hot like Mercury or Venus, nor too cold like Neptune or Uranus. The conditions are just fine for water to exist in liquid form. And this is the first necessary criterion for life to form. Similarly, a lot of exoplanets lie in such zones, meaning that they show the potential of sustaining life. Why am I giving you this science lesson? To try and tackle the age-old question, is there life outside our planet? Could aliens be watching us? Well, some scientists say that's very likely. And now a Pentagon official and a Harvard scientist have made a stunning proposition. In a draft paper, the duo says our galactic neighborhood may have an extraterrestrial spaceship, and that it could be watching us with tiny probes, just the way humans send out spacecraft to explore planets. They are calling these probes dandelion seeds. And where does this theory even come from? How credible is it? It relates to an interstellar object that passed through our solar system in the year 2017. It is called Oumuamua. It had an unusual elongated shape. It was earlier thought to be a comet, But unlike a comet, it did not have a tail of gas and dust, and it was moving away from the sun. The comet theory was dismissed. Then what exactly is Oumuamua? The Harvard scientist Avi Loeb saying it was an alien spaceship. You heard that right. 6 months before it approached our planet, a 1 meter wide meteor smashed into Earth. This meteor was not related to Oumuamua, but it got scientists thinking. They have proposed that an artificial interstellar object could be a parent craft, which could be releasing many small probes to planet Earth. In fact, the authors say aliens could be using them to explore our planet. The draft paper is yet to be peer-reviewed. But again, how credible is this theory? We are yet to find out. And the Pentagon has recently shown renewed interest in studying unidentified objects. More than 360 new investigations have been opened into unidentified anomalous phenomena. All of these encounters were reported by US military personnel. There isn't adequate information to resolve half of these sightings, and the mystery continues. Let's now tell you what else made news around the world. Time for Gravitas Global Headlines.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un calls for ramping up of production of weapon-grade nuclear material. This came on a day the US aircraft carrier USS Nimitz arrived in South Korea's harbour city of Busan. The Eiffel Tower shuts its doors to visitors as its staff went on a strike, joining nationwide protests against the government's drive to raise the retirement age. The African Union voices concern over the violence and anti-government protests in Kenya. At least one person was killed and several injured in clashes as the government declared the protests illegal. The Kenyan police fired tear gas and water cannons at stone-throwing supporters of opposition leader Raila Odinga on Monday. The clashes broke out as Odinga's convoy passed through a neighborhood in the capital. Firefighters battled a wildfire in eastern Spain fueled by winds and dry weather. Spain's first major wildfire of the year swept through woodlands in the Valencia and Aragon regions over the past 5 days, forcing around 1,500 people to leave their homes. Firefighters from the region and from the military emergency unit joined forces with other emergency services to protect the urban areas and the natural parks. A massive landslide in the Andes region of Ecuador killed 16 and injured 16 others. Rescue operations and search parties are working round the clock to find 7 people missing in the city of Olauji. Ecuador's Risk Management Secretariat has confirmed that 500 people and 163 homes have been affected by the calamity. The UK government raises the terrorism threat level in Northern Ireland to severe ahead of an expected visit by US President Joe Biden to mark the 25th anniversary of a landmark peace accord. At least 39 migrants have died after a fire broke out at a migrant facility in a Mexican northern border city. Venezuelan teachers took to the streets of Caracas to demand better salaries. Protesters holding signs and chanting slogans marching to the Education Ministry building. This comes as the government faces fresh challenges in its attempt to fight inflation. International Olympic Committee President once again backed the participation of Russian and Belarusian athletes at the 2024 Olympics. In a strong statement, he said that the participation works despite the ongoing war in Ukraine. Two-time world champions France claimed a 1-0 victory over Republic of Ireland in the Euro 2024 qualifiers. Benjamin Pavard's second half strike saw France go top of Group B with their second straight win.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. We are leaving you with Gravitas images. Thanks very much for watching.
Allez, 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 allez. Поглядываю, чтобы она не упала на нас хорошо, как потом. Посадка объекта.